Hi there, fellow hikers. Welcome to the 2025 edition of my annual gear update. This time the underlying theme will be the gear that I use when I hike in remote Arctic wildernesses in northern Scandinavia, where safety, durability, equipment, redundancy, etc. are key considerations. Stay tuned and I'll do a show and tell of all my hiking gear in quite some detail. And I'll do it section by section according to the list you can see here. So first out is Big 3. And you can see here the items that I consider part of Big 3 in my packing list. And I'll start from the top of the list with my tent, which is a Durston X Mid 1 solid, which I'm now on the third season using this tent. And overall, I must say I'm quite happy. This is, it should be said, since we're going to talk a bit more about Arctic hiking here, this is intended, I think, as a 3-season tent. And I've used it with very good result as such. I think it could possibly be used even in winter season because steep sides can easily shed snow. It's quite sturdy with the trekking poles and you can pitch it very low, the outer tent very low, so you avoid sort of the snow coming in with the strong wind. But I don't intend to do that. This is my 3-season tent and I have not seen very much wear and tear either over 3 seasons, so I'll definitely continue to use this tent. Together with this tent, then I have some tent stakes, obviously. So here are 8 tent stakes. This is a mixture of Hilleberg and MSR groundhog. These are the 8 that if I fully stake out my tent, 4 corners and 4 sides, then these 8 tent stakes is what I need. Then I also carry 2 simpler stakes here to secure the doors of the tent, basically. Then I have, because I do leave behind some tent stakes, etc., or they break, so I have 2 spare. So in total I have 10 of these kind of Y-profile tent stakes, okay? Then I have 1 extra stake as well here, and that's for this, which I will show here. This is for the longer guy line that I have here. This one is more than 2 meters, so if I want to secure the long side of the tent against strong wind, then I would use this one and the additional stake there. All right. And then I have 4 shorter guy lines, about 1 meter plus. And this is what I use in the 4 corners of the tents if I need to loop around a boulder or a rock, because the ground is such that I cannot use my tent stakes. All right, so that's the tent and stakes portion. Okay. If I then move on to the sleep solution. I am now using Big Agnes Rapid SL size 25 by 78. And for those of you who saw my last year's update, you may know that I had big issues with my Zoom Ultralight sleeping pad from Big Agnes, because it developed leaks gradually just by normal usage. And I still suspect the design was maybe a bit too fragile, or at the very least, it increased the risk for manufacturing errors. But what happened since the last update was that Big Agnes sent me a replacement sleeping pad, and they asked me to choose, and I chose the Rapid SL, which, although it is about 100 or so gram heavier than the Zoom Ultralight, is very comfortable, and it has not developed any leaks during this 2025 season. So far, so good, I would say. So I'm going to continue to use this sleeping pad. Then, still on the sleeping system, I have also, same as before, Enlightened Equipment Revelation rated 20 degrees Fahrenheit or 6 degrees centigrade. And I have not used it down to -6 degrees centigrade. I have used it down to about 2 degrees above zero. And provided you have the right sleeping clothes, etc., I've been quite comfortable in that. So again, I am not intending right now to do winter hiking. So this whole video is for 3 seasons, spring, summer, autumn hiking in the Arctic. Right? And for that, this sleeping quilt I feel is very, very good. And with that, I have been using the Zenbivy sheet for draft protection. And I'm showing here a clip from last year's update so you can see roughly how I'm using it. So I'm attaching this with my existing sleeping quilt. So I didn't buy a new, very expensive Zenbivy sleeping quilt just to use this. And then also related to this is, now this looks very big here, the sleeping quilt, but in my backpack I compress it in a compression bag, a watertight dry bag here, Sea to Summit event. So then it's much smaller and it's also protected from any moisture or water getting into the backpack. Okay, so if we move on within the sleeping system. I should mention, I actually forgot to mention, I'm still using, you can see that in the list also, I'm still using the Gossamer Gear trekking poles. 2 of them for pitching my tent. Third one as both spare and also serves as a monopod for my camera, which I will come back to later. Right. Forgot that. And then back to the sleeping system. So in the pillow area, I have been using now for I think a couple of seasons the Z-Packs Dyneema dry bag pillow with soft fabric here. And I sort of half inflate a Sea to Summit aerial pillow. So half inflate, put it inside, and then I fill up with some more softer, comfortable spare clothing inside here, like down jacket if I'm not using it, or some spare base layer or something. But if it gets really cold, it's not always I will have spare clothes to do that. And I'm actually considering now to maybe change this pillow solution to something else. So I would say this is a working project. This whole season I was using this pillow. And then one small but important detail, which I put in big 3 section here because I think it belongs to the sleeping system. It's a very comfortable eye cover. And there we go. 2 earplugs. And this is this kind of type which really closes the ear quite good so you don't hear anything. All right, small details, but they're very important to have this part of the sleeping solution. So then finally, backpack. So I'm still using Fjällräven's Keb 52 backpack here. It's unchanged from last season. And if you see the list here, the weight has gone up a bit. It's because I have better accounted for or properly considered the weight of some pockets. And now I have a clip here for an action camera. And I also have my usual clip here for my Fujifilm bigger camera. And what I have also added, which push up the weight just a little bit, is a front pocket that I can clip on here. I'll come back to this in the camera section because this is for keeping my camera gear, including microphone, dry during heavy wind and rain. I'll come back to that. So, okay, so that concludes big 3 then, I think, unless I forgot something else. No, I think we're okay. Well, as we're talking about hiking in remote wilderness areas, the path might not actually reveal itself to you when you start walking. But I think it's a very nice saying, don't you agree? What I will talk about here in this section is navigation, communication power, and repair. And if we start with navigation, my smartphone is my primary navigation device with GPS, all the offline maps that I need downloaded into this device. And hiking in the areas I just mentioned, Arctic, etc., redundancy and safety is very important, right? So the redundancy I always have is a printed map and a compass. So if my smartphone stops working altogether, I should be able to use this to navigate. And I can, but you guys, if you haven't done this before, you need to practice using a compass and a map, all right? And then there may be situations when I cannot get a printed map of the area I'm going to hike. So then I'm sometimes bringing a second smartphone as my fallback device for navigation. Obviously with GPS and the same offline maps downloaded into this device. Okay, so in that sense I have all the redundancy I need to be able to find my way and know where I am. And then when it comes to communication and also safety, satellite messenger like this or any other brand and model is of course very important. Not just in the Arctic remote wilderness, but if you hike alone somewhere in any forest or mountain, this is of course very, very critical to have a device like this. So you can communicate with emergency services if something would happen to you, all right? Okay. Then on to power. I have in my home store, so to say, I have 5 10,000 milliampere hour power banks. The most I have brought in one hike so far is 4. But this depends on what kind of devices you bring, if you have enough spare batteries, how much you think you're going to charge. So I normally try to estimate that before a hike. So I have 5 in total that I could bring. Then of course it becomes a little bit heavy, but yeah. And then I have optimized. I had some devices that used USB-A cables, or I had a head torch that used a special charging cable. So now I have sort of made sure that all the devices I have can be charged via USB-C. So I cannot just bring one, and you always have to have redundancy on critical components, right? So I bring a minimum of 2 USB-C charging cables, all right? Then on to environment. I always bring this thermometer, very useful to, in the morning when you wake up, you can check what was the lowest temperature during the night and compare with how did you feel, do you have enough clothes, etc. So it doesn't weigh very much, and I really like to know this, what's the lowest temperature during the night in an easy way, not carry too big device. My head torch is a night core, really like this one, very lightweight. One charge lasts pretty long. Of course, you had red lights and all the other stuff as well. So yeah, this one is quite good for me. And then more in terms of redundancy, I don't wear contact lenses when I hike. I wear specs. Now I'm not wearing them either, but so I always bring one spare set of spectacles, and these are titanium, not easily broken, and the ones I normally wear are also titanium, so I have redundant, and so I can always, see very well. I'm guaranteed of that, so to say. Okay. So then on to my repair kit. So if we start here on the left, one important thing is a needle and thread. I have 2 needles here with a very strong thread and some extra thread here. I have this sewing thimble because if you're going to push your needle through some very dense, thick backpack fabric or something, you really need this to protect yourself. You don't want to hurt yourself out in the wilderness, right? Then I have a small brush here in case I need to clean something from dust, dirt, etc. while I'm fixing it. I have some spare stuff here, a small carabiner to hang something in my backpack. Spare strap buckle, because sometimes if one breaks and it's a bit hard to fix, so then I can use a spare one. I have a few cord stoppers here because I hang some equipment on my backpack using elastic cord, so this is good to have a few spare. I have some of the split key rings, which is also a good simple device if you want to fix something, hold it together, etc. And then a few nut spacers here. This is more to do with my camera clips, if I need to trim or fix those in some way. And these tools here also mainly for that kind of uses. Anything with tripod or camera clip, then I need these. And then this one, which I like very much, Leatherman Squirt PS4 plier. Has a small knife in it. It has a scissor, it has a screwdriver, and it's still very lightweight. So you can do so much things with this little guy. And then a repair kit here for sleeping pads. Spare propellers for a drone when I carry such, and a special screwdriver that fits on those propeller blades. Cable ties, I think I should put a few more longer ones too. Cable ties can be used to fix a lot of stuff, right? Even your boots, if they start to open up somewhere, you can either you have long enough or you put two cable ties together and wrap it around your boot and then hold it in one piece, so to say. Shoestring for boots, and then all of this goes into this bag here. This is my repair kit. So I think that concludes this section, then on to the next. And the memories I take are, of course, recorded here, and some of them also here. This is my main camera, still the Fujifilm X-S20 with a long 70 to 300 millimeter lens, and this is APS-C format. And the only problem or challenge I have with my camera body is that that's the only piece of this equipment here that is not weather resistant, so I have to be really careful with regards to any splash from rain, etc. And then together with this lens, I also have a 30 millimeter lens, Fujifilm, with good macro capabilities. And then I have a converter, 1.1 converter to use together with the 300 millimeter lens. And then with regards to sound, I was using for 2 seasons or 2.5 this stereo microphone from Rode. Unfortunately, one channel stopped working this season, and I think it is because I have not been very good at actually protecting it from water splash and even rain sometimes. So it's almost a miracle that it's worked so well for 2.5 seasons. So now I have instead replaced them with 2 directional mics also from Rode, which I basically carried as spare before if I wanted to shoot some wildlife. But now I use 2 of these, and so I can still record stereo, and I have the opportunity to record directional sound as well. Okay. So this one goes out for now. And then for this Fujifilm camera, I have the Nightcore charger here. I can charge 2 batteries at the same time. And then I have 3 of these Fujifilm 2200 milliampere hour batteries. And I must say the Fujifilm camera is very efficient when it comes to power consumption. So one battery can last easily 1 or even 2 days Whereas for my GoPro, which I'm now shooting this with, so I cannot show it, a battery like this, the compact one, 1700 milliampere hour. This one is consumed in often less than a day. So what I do end up doing is charging the GoPro batteries, and for that I have this battery box, room for 3 batteries, USB-C connection. And in terms of tripod, I have this mini tripod, Pedco. The top here now, the fixture is sitting on the camera I'm shooting this with. So, but this one is very useful and flexible. And the Velcro here can easily be used to tie this around a tree branch or anything. So you can place your camera in different positions. And you can also do like this, which I sometimes do. I can place it here like this. On a trekking pole. And then if I can make this sturdy somewhere and I want to create an elevated position, then I have a sort of a monopod like this. And this is just a short demo of how I use my monopod when I'm out hiking. So this is my normal mode. I have my long lens camera ready here on my hip belt. So I walk along, I encounter some wildlife, then I just do like this. And I can very quickly shoot the wildlife. And this would be what would happen when I'm using this front pocket here. And I'm encountering bad weather. Then I'll just release the camera, take off the microphone, put in the whole camera with lens inside the pocket and also the microphone like this. And then it's fully protected from rain. And also if I cross a river, it's much safer to hold the camera here in a sort of water-resistant bag, right? And then in terms of ocular devices, I do have a binocular and a monocular. Both have been optional. Lately I've been carrying the monocular more often, so I sort of make this a standard part of my hiking gear. This one is 10 by 25, quite useful. And then a couple of optional things. My drone here, now a Mini 4 Pro. This one I don't carry every time because some places you're not allowed to fly a drone at all, right? So, yeah. Another optional thing that I actually haven't used yet is this. It's more like for short hikes, like maybe day hike, 1 or 2 overnighters. It's actually a photo hide. So it's a camouflage net and it's a ultralight umbrella, which I then fix on a tripod and then put the camouflage net on top of it. And you can see here, so this is how it can look like when I do this. But as I said, I haven't done it yet, so it's just something I prepared for future usage. Yeah. Well, whether you think that quote had about growing old had some truth in it or not, for me now as a senior growing old, camp comfort has become even more important than before. That's why I now have as a standard part of my hiking gear the ultralight camp chair from Nemo here. So that's camp comfort. If we then go to the kitchen or cooking department, my frying pan here is the same as previous years. It also serves as a lid, or I can sort of warm something on top of boiling water here. My cooking pot is still the same, Changia light aluminium, Swedish brand. And then I have recently added here a mini wood stove. And as you can see, this has not been used at all. for the very reason that it was a heat wave in the Arctic this summer, and the ground was so dry that eventually there was a prohibition against any open fire in the nature. So I could not make any open fire in the forest at all during this season. So. And then I also have as option here this bail handle. And I have this bracket, so if I manage to make a tripod in here, 3 tree branches, and then I can hang this over an open fire and cook my dinner like this. So I hope next season I will actually be able to use this. Okay, then hiking in the Arctic remote wilderness, as we discussed before, redundancy is very important. My primary gas stove is this one, Fire Maple. And then I always carry this backup BRS gas stove. I also have a windshield then to sort of improve the gas efficiency in these tiny stoves, at least a bit. This one is very ultralight, but it does help a bit with that objective. I have just a plastic foot for the gas canister. And then to light the gas canister, the gas cooker or a fire, I mainly use ignition steel nowadays. I may bring matches as well, but this is my primary ignition method. Right? Of course, I have a long spork, a cup now with a handle, easier to drink hot drinks, and then a dishwashing sponge here. And I think that's all in this department. So if I haven't forgotten anything, on to the next one. Peace inside. That is exactly what I feel when I hike in a true wilderness. So it is a kind of medicine, if you like. And medical protection, hygiene and toiletry is exactly what I'm going to talk about here in this section. So if we start here with protection, obviously I have a different sun protection here. And also some of this kind of lip gloss with UV filter as well. And then against mosquitoes, ticks, etc. This particular spray is from Sweden, works very well. And another form of protection is this mosquito head net, very, very important when you hike, especially in the forest in the Arctic. And then afterward, so to say, if you still get mosquito bites, etc., then I use this menthol oil to soothe the itchy skin afterward. This works very well for me. A small little guy, but really helps. Okay. And then if we continue with my medical kit, so I do not have exactly what it says here. I have a customized medical kit. And if we start from this side here, I have an emergency blanket. I have selected pieces of a medical kit that was much bigger from the beginning, which I cut down because a lot of the stuff I actually didn't really know how to use, what to do with it. So this is what remains now after a couple of seasons. So I have a couple of sterile sponges here. I have some gauze bandage. I have some tape to use with that to apply on a wound or something. I have a wound closure strip here if you like cut yourself and you want to close it up. And then I have some antibiotic ointment and sterile alcohol prep pad here as well, related to those kind of injuries. And then more about footwear or blisters. I have a couple of Compede here, but I basically never use those. I've been very lucky in terms of blisters. And I carry this Levcoplast as well, this kind of tape, which is very good to use when you start to feel the beginning of a blister. Then you put this on to maybe stop the blister from really developing further. Plasters here of different sizes. I carry some Salon Pas, this medicated plaster. If you get some muscle pain or something, then this is helpful to put on. Only 2 types of medicine now actually. Ibuprofen against headaches, etc. And then medicine against diarrhea. These are the two I find that I really need, and there's lots of other medicines I had before that I never used. And then the last medicine is here. If I get gastric, I have some of this sort of liquid that you then drink as well. So that's in terms of medicines. Then, of course, I have a towel here, quick drying. I also have a clothesline to hang between the tent and the tree or a trekking pole or something. And the only new thing I have here is this, a wash bowl, a snap bowl, this kind of, you can make it flat and then put it in the backpack like this. So I found this very useful. So I can take water from the stream or the river in this bowl, and whether I want to wash myself, I want to wash the dishes, or I want to wash clothes, then I mix some soap inside the wash bowl here and wash, and then sort of throw it away on the ground, not into the river, so I don't sort of pollute the river, right? And it's also very lightweight, so I think this is both good for me and good for the environment, if I can put it that way. All right. So I think that's all in this section. So on to the next. For those of you who don't know, that saying, there is no bad weather, only inappropriate clothing, has for quite some time been very popular in Scandinavia. Okay, time to talk about clothing. I'll start with what's new this time. So one change I made is I've changed from standard sort of merino wool top base layer to this mesh base layer from Brynje in Norway. And so far so good. Although it was funny that this season, the summer was record hot in the Arctic part of Scandinavia, so I never really put this to the true test, so to say. And then the second new thing is this. So this is my homemade rain poncho. And the story behind this one is that I had a ground sheet I was rarely using. I had a pack liner I was rarely using, so I decided to sew myself a homemade rain poncho out of that material. And this is quite wide design, and it's of course covering my backpack and me. My main camera with the long lens is also actually fitting inside here, but it's probably more likely that when it started to rain a bit, I put it in the front pocket, which is also inside here, and then later on I put on the rain poncho when I need to protect myself as well. And the fitting is quite wide, as you can see. And I decided to do like this, sleeveless, and have a lot of space here so I can reach inside and access my shoulder strap pockets, my front pocket, and maybe take out some device or camera, action camera, film while raining a bit, put it back again. So in that sense, it is quite flexible. All right, and I have tested this one in the rainforest of Borneo. And I felt very safe and actually totally dry, so yes. And when I'm not using it, it just sits in a pocket here, so I can easily get to it and open it up and drag it over myself, so to say. So after this, I'll continue and go through the rest of my clothing, maybe a little bit faster, because there hasn't been really any changes in the other items. I still have these waternet shoes, quite flimsy and cheap from China, but I keep repairing them, so I've sewn on Dyneema fabric here and strengthened them a bit. So let's see if they will last one more season or not. In terms of my bottom base layer, I still use merino wool, smart wool or ulwang. To protect my arms from getting too wet when I wear my rain poncho, as you saw earlier. I still have my Fjällräven wind and rain jacket here. When it gets really cold, I have my Z-Packs down jacket. Still very happy with this one. Super lightweight, but really warming. And then on this side here, I have this, I treasure very much, the sleeves, to just put on my arms like this when I wear a t-shirt, mainly to protect from sunburn, but also if, like, especially in the Arctic, if you're in a forest with a lot of mosquitoes, if I spray or roll on some mosquito repellent and I wear it, then actually the mosquitoes are much slower to bite. But it's still sort of ventilating enough, so if there's a breeze, I can feel the wind on my arms. So this one is quite important for me. Then a bandana buff put around here, also getting a bit worn out, maybe time to get a new one. Spare underwear, I carry 2 spare underwears, but in terms of t-shirt, I only carry one spare. So then I alternately wash the one that I'm not wearing. So this is synthetic mix that dries very, very fast and is lightweight. I wear one thin pair of socks and a thicker pair of socks on top of that. And this is how I avoid blisters for the most part. So I have one spare pair of each one here. Then I have inner gloves here that are not water resistant, but just if it gets a little bit cold, and I can still operate my smartphone with these. Then I have this sort of shell mittens here that resist water much better, that I would then wear outside if it's raining for a long time. I have my favorite hat, this one, Fjällräven, and a warmer hat or cap than in case it's getting really cold. Okay. What else? I'm experimenting a bit with, I can just show very briefly, but I haven't really used this yet. You know, when you start out the hike in the morning and it's cold, you have to underdress, especially on your legs, right? Because maybe 10-15 minutes after you've been walking along the trail, then you start to get warm. So if you did wear some base layer there, you would have to sort of stop, maybe even take off your boots, your pants, and then take off the base layer. So I've started to experiment here. I haven't really used it yet, but I have taken an old bottom base layer and cut up along the whole legging here, and then sewn on Velcro. So I can actually open this up. And then at the top here, 2 pieces of Velcro that will go inside my pants and then fix there so they don't slide down. So by having this, I can use my Fjällräven pants with a zip in the middle. I open up the zip, I let the lower part of the legging go down, and I can pull this inside base layer out from under my pants. And then I can sort of undress without having to take off the pants, without having to take off boots. But this is still an experiment. I haven't tried this yet. And again, this season it was not cold enough to even want to use any base layer inside my pants. So this will be for the next season, okay? For me personally, that saying rings so true. After a long day's hike, even my own super basic cooking tastes twice as good as it would have at home. Here I'm going to talk about food and consumables. And if we go through as per the list here, we start with breakfast. I typically have 2 slices of bread for breakfast. For instance, this kind of bread here, as you can see, which I can buy in Scandinavian supermarkets. Together with that, I will have a pack of some spread or typically cheese. For instance, something like this, a bit of creamy cheese, which I find is very good. And then to complete the breakfast, very importantly, I carry my Malaysian hot milk tea called Retiree. And I have a sort of a ready mix of that, which is quite rich and strong. So I only use half sachet for one Retiree drink for breakfast. And for lunch, I no longer cook any soup or anything like that. I prefer to just drink lots of water and eat the nut mix that I put together myself. typically almonds, macadamia, maybe walnuts, cranberries, raisins, or something like that. And so that forms my lunch. And then it was already, I think, last season sometime I started to get really fed up with freeze-dried meals. So for dinner, I bring still a few just to mix and match a bit. But my main dinners will be with mashed potato or pasta as a base. And pasta I get is then the one that it needs to be boiled for 6-7 minutes. So it's like more like real pasta instead of the freeze-dried. And then for the mash, I embellish the mash by bringing real butter in small containers like this and mix that in after I have made the mash from the ready-made mix. And then to complete the dinner, I would typically bring some package of sausage, or maybe for the first day some bacon that cannot keep so long. So that sort of creates my dinner mix of freeze-dried and then some mashed pasta with bacon, sausage, or something else. Right? And then also very importantly, my milk chocolate. I always eat the milk chocolate on every hike I make, and it's always the local brand. So in Scandinavia, obviously, it would be, or in Sweden at least, it would be the Marabou, like this here. And then water is, of course, very, very important too. I have used, throughout this season, I actually used a small bottle like this. So even though this one is maybe a bit stronger, so it can last a bit longer, it's still, I prefer to minimize the use of this kind of plastic. So what I will do going forward is instead I use this as the bottle that I will frequently drink from. This is a 0.75 liter Hydra Pack, soft bottle, right? And then together with this one, so this is the one where I fill up and put in the pocket or the backpack normally. And then I have one of these caps have a built-in water filter, which I normally don't need in Scandinavian Arctic because the water is so clean. But just in case I need to fill up from a small lake where the water is a bit stagnant and there's more particles, etc., then I may use the water filter. So these two together then 2.25 liter, which I think normally in the Scandinavian Arctic that is sufficient, because if you navigate properly, you can always find a way to the nearest stream or lake before long, right? So, and if I were to plan a hike in a more higher altitude area where it's much more only rocks and not much water, then obviously I would need to consider and maybe bring one bigger bottle here as well. So, and then both of these are durable up to plus 60 degrees Celsius. So a cold night, you could put your thick sock on top of this bottle and use it as a hot flask inside your sleeping quilt. That would be okay as well. So I think this will be the sort of long-term solution that I will use going forward. Okay. And then I want to show one optional thing that I don't think I have shown before. The MSR Guardian water filter. This is really the king of water filters, I would say. It's very expensive and it weighs almost 700 grams. So you really have to think twice before you carry this. And obviously in the Swedish Arctic, I do not need this, just to make that clear. But I wanted to show it anyway. So this is sort of the float you put in the lake, and then the filter here to block particles from getting into the filter. And then you pump here and into a bottle below here, and then the spilled water goes back into the lake here. So I have used this one a couple of times in Asia, like hiking in Malaysia or Borneo in the rainforest, where there's obviously a lot of water, but it's not always safe to drink as it is. So then I use this to fill up my bottles. So yeah, so it's always an option. And I have to keep, now you can see it's a bit wet here. I have to keep regularly pump a little bit of water through this so it doesn't dry out, even though I use it very seldom. So, but yeah, it's always there. And then finally, gas canisters. As we're talking about hiking in remote wildernesses in the Arctic, redundancy again is very important. So I've always carried 2 gas canisters, but previously if I estimated I needed a 230 gram gas canister, Then I brought a second 230 gram canister. That's what I'm now changed to, the spare one always being 100 gram only to reduce some weight. Because I think that's sufficient. A 100 gram gas canister, if the primary one fails for some reason, then you would have maybe 3 days or so at least, you can still cook food. And that's enough time to plan for an exit route to leave the area, because otherwise you don't get cooked food for the rest of the hike, right? So that reduced the total weight a bit by doing that. Okay, so I think that's all in this section. So, all right. To wrap up this video, the longest I have ever made, let's take a quick look at the total weights. And if we look here, you see total weight compared to 2024 increased by 444 grams. Which of course is not good. I was already close to 18 kg and then I just pushed above 18 kg. But the thing is, in the calculation I did this time, I assume this one is half on average and this bottle is full. So it doesn't mean I'm now carrying more than before, but I have perhaps a more honest counting in the table here. Anyway, you always strive to not carry too heavy, right? So if the trend is continuing like this, then obviously I have to revisit and review some of the items I carry. Okay, so as always, whatever you carry in your backpack, I do wish you happy hiking.